Everyone on my team is more stacked than me, with some members even having a mace. So if I wanted to achieve my goal of world domination, I would need to get a lot more stacked than my teammates. I started off by getting netherite gear that could withstand fire and has more durability. After upgrading my pickaxe to netherite, I was able to mine for longer distances, meaning I could get more netherite to upgrade and continue on. Even after a while, I still only had my pickaxe and chestplate upgraded. However, I continued trying to get more netherite. After grinding some more, I was able to get a netherite sword and netherite leggings. And that's when I realized that this method of just digging around in the nether would probably not work for the amount of netherite I needed to max out all my items. I realized that bastion raiding might be a smart idea in order to get a large amount of netherite. So I went back to the nether and started looking for bastions. After getting to the center of the bastion, I realized that there was a chest. Hopefully it would have netherite. Luckily it did, and I now had the netherite that I needed to upgrade all of my items. My axe, my helmet, and my boots. However, I had to leave the nether because I realized that I had just gotten a call from one of my teammates. They had said that they had been trapped in a child chamber and had died, meaning that I had to come save them, otherwise they would be banned off the server. So putting aside my lust for netherite, I went out searching for where my teammate could possibly be. After making it to their location, I went down to help them out of the cave.
What's good?
After saving this kid multiple times, I eventually got him out of the cave successfully, and I could continue grinding for my netherite. Now that I was back at the base, I can now upgrade my diamond tools and diamond armor to netherite, effectively making me one of the richest players on our team. Even with netherite though, there were still resources I was lacking, so I started brewing up potions in case I was ever in a fight. And after farming some sugarcane, I manipulated my teammate into giving me the mace. And after filling up the shulker with potions, I realized that I was now one of the richest players on my team. Therefore, I had now completed my goal to become the richest player on my team. But if that's where this stopped, then I would be releasing a 2-minute video, which would not be good for monetization. And that's where this story really starts. Not with the random goal of becoming the richest player, but with a story that would end up in me being the villain. And it all began with my team leader, Wobbly Cash, telling me to go assassinate a player named Raptors. Raptors had previously been on our team, but apparently my other teammates had decided differently on what he really was. So being the player with the mace and also the strongest fighter on the team, they ordered me to go finish the job of killing Raptors. And so I made it to the place where we were going to kill Raptors. Since he wasn't expecting a fight, it had been pretty easy to make him combat log. But now I had to wait here for him to log back on so I could finish him off. And once he logged back on, I finished the job. Now that Raptors was dead, I gained an extra gear set in my inventory. However, I had also made an enemy. But being the strongest player at the time, I wasn't really worried about a naked player killing me. After killing Raptors, I logged off for a while. And then when I got on, everything changed. It started with me heading back to the base, just another normal day on the server. I had been sort of just flying around spawn, when eventually this happened. Since the player had nothing good, I gave it all back to him, and it even dropped the heart too. But the damage had been done. And as a prank at my base, I set up a small little TNT minecart trap for any intruders that came in. It was sort of a joke while also at the same time protecting us from anyone who came down the ladder who wasn't invited. But since I'm not very good at redstone, the trap didn't even work anyway. Me and my teammates were just messing around until I went to dismantle the trap since it hadn't worked. However, I'd actually turned on the rail. So when I broke the block and the TNT minecarts went forward, I lost everything I had grinded for this entire video. My teammates were now mad at me for blowing up the entrance of our base, and I had lost everything, now sitting at spawn on 10 hearts. My teammate, also the admin, TP'd to me using his admin powers and ended up killing me since I had no gapples to defend myself. Then, making jokes about death banning me, he killed me again. Now on 8 hearts, I was really pissed off. So I went back to the old base, telling Wobbly Cash to come back to the old base and fight me, not caring if I died and lost anything that I still had. But since he wasn't coming, I realized that I had to go before he brought Michael, who still had the mace. So I chose to go to the Nether and go far away to escape. I started grinding in the caves, realizing that my only way to beat Michael, Wobbly Cash, and Winston now was to use TNT. Since a mace and swords could easily overpower me in an outnumbered fight, I had to use traps in order to defeat them. And in order to solve my hearts problem, I resolved to kill the Wither, so that I could use the Wither Star to craft hearts so I could survive the incoming fights. Putting me on 8 hearts and taking everything I had away from me was not going to stop me. And now I had to get back all the gear I had lost, once again becoming the richest player on the server from scratch. And what was even worse than having to grind back all the gear I had lost was the fact that I knew it was all my fault.